Travel back in time with a trip inside the Iowa's News Now vault.
It began as a driving rain. Rain so heavy rest areas on Interstate 80 were refuge to those who chose to wait the storm out. In quick succession, though, came more rain, several bridge and road closings, and a flash flood warning. This Marengo man is one who was forced to stay away from home by the floods. So what are you going to do to spend the night? Where are you going to spend it?
I hope it goes down so I can get home.
It's 3 in the morning now. We're under a flash flood warning. The river behind me extends some 100 yards to the police cars on the other side. People here say it's never gotten that big before in their lifetimes. Old Man's Creek surged forward, its newfound strength building to a foamy peak beneath the Highway 149 bridge. Fire Chief Dean Epperly says high water forced partial evacuation of the Williamsburg nursing home. 10 of 44 residents moved to higher ground.
We got down here and we didn't know what to do at first. So we started sandbagging what we had, and then we called North English for help. Never seen it this bad at all.
As the skies lightened, businessmen watched river water filled with eroded topsoil. It was receding, but slowly. And with the new day came new evidence of the storm's magnitude. Businesses and homes all along the creek suffered from the flood, as did farmers already delayed in planting by wet weather. This was a cornfield yesterday. Today it looks more like a lake. Gene Lively reports from Benton County, where similar scenes are all too common.
One Benton County farmer said it was the worst that he had seen in over 30 years. Farms bordering swollen creeks were the hardest hit. When the Pratt Creek overflowed, it also took with it livestock. In this area behind me, there are about 5 head of cattle that are stranded out there in deep water. Cattle weren't the only animals lost in the deluge. Gerald Alpers lost several $1,000s worth of baby pigs.
Cow herd, I seem to be quite a few of them missing back there. A lot of baby pigs out here in the field. I'm sure there's probably 10 to 12 litters of pigs gone.
How about crops?
Well, just washed out in the low spots. Had some beans that had just been planted yesterday and the day before. Looks like a lot of them are washed out.
In Benton County, there were 20 county bridges closed because of high water. The Highway 218 bridge over the Pratt was closed for several hours while DOT crews hastily replaced washed-out asphalt. Shellsburg was cut off as the Bear Creek turned into a raging torrent and inundated the highway passing through the town. A service station was evacuated as water almost covered the gas pumps. By midday, however, the water had receded enough to open the road to traffic. Farmers suffered the brunt of the damage in Benton County, but some managed to keep a sense of humor despite their losses. Gene Lively, 2 Action News in Benton County.
There was nothing to do this morning for some folks in Williamsburg except to get out the boots and start to wash and broom the mud away. Some were here all night trying to save what they could.
Come down and there's a whole lot here was covered with water. It was a little over a foot and a half in the office and the buildings there, and it just pretty well flooded everything out.
Most of the damage here took place in the recently planted fields. Young corn and soybean plants were under 2 to 3 feet of water. And for some farmers, it may be too late to start over.
It depends on how soon you're going to get into it, if you can get into it, ever get into it. Well, they still could plant some beans and probably get a fair yield on them. Maybe not pay expenses, but I don't know what they're going to do.
This is the water line. It's about 4 feet high. And this was the softball diamond that the community worked on all spring. It was a community project, and it opened only 10 days ago.
All the time was donated. When they dug for the concrete was donated by Jiffy Pour. Iowa Electric donated the time for the lights.
I'd say 200 or 300 people would at least have something to do with it out here.
The people in Williamsburg hopefully will never see another flood like this again. But if they do, the spirit here should carry them through it.
Just kind of shows that there's higher power than what we are. But there's damage, but we'll survive.
A peaceful stream gently flows through Benton County soybean and corn fields. It's a stream that usually doesn't exist. A tranquil reminder of the rampaging runoff that occurred here yesterday. The water is everywhere, moving where it can, standing where it can't. Farmers here lost several thousand acres of crops, several thousand tons of soil.
If we'd have a week, 10 days of real nice sunshine and low humidity, probably the loss would be a lot less.
But there's no guarantee that will happen, and for some, there's no insurance to cover crop loss.
Probably over the years with the premium, I'm probably take my bump and go on for next year.
Some of the fields are so saturated that herbicides and fertilizers could lose their potency, which some farmers say could lead to further problems this fall.
Nothing like trying to pick or combine weedy corn and weedy beans. It really gets to be a disaster. So here's another thing that'll probably enter into the picture when fall comes.
For the farmers and those who lived near the creeks and streams, Mother Nature's name was mud today.
You know, all you can do is scrape it up and try to dump it somewhere, dump it back in the fields or ditches or whatever, get rid of it. But the older guys tell me that the last time it got even close to this was like 1947, in this area anyway.
Yesterday morning, all this was underwater. Like most things that aren't designed to be underwater, the sewage plant broke down. And until pumps could be brought in, the sewage had only one place to go, and that's back through the system.
My son has a bedroom in the basement, and he woke up about 1:30 and hollered at us and said there's water coming in the basement.
Bream had 4 feet of water in his basement and estimates the damage at about $5,000. Crews worked all night to keep the emergency system going until the plant could be fixed. Residents were told to keep their sewage use to a minimum, and most were glad to pitch in and do their part.
They've all been real helpful. As far as I know, everybody was informed, and they seemed to comply with it.
The Department of Environmental Quality has looked at the jury-rig system and says the town is doing exactly what it should do in a situation like this. Even though raw sewage is going directly into holding ponds, the DEQ says there is no health hazard, and the city should have things running normally by this evening. Al Hinkle, 2 Action News in Tiffin.